Hello and welcome to State of the Table. My name is Ryan, also known as Rezial, and this is my weekly video series where we get a very rough and ready look at the hobby table, very minimal sort of production value here, just what is necessary to get the job done and take a look at things and, kind of show like my processes just on a weekly basis, kind of in the state that they're in, if that generates questions or gives you guys any insight. Hopefully that is the goal, that it is helpful to hobbyists at all levels. Of course, people that are more skilled than me are probably already well aware of the stuff that they're gonna want to do, but especially for newer people or people that get some use out of this, that is what it's for. If you are someone who is getting value from the content, please do consider throwing me a like, subscribing, share with your friends. It really does help. The YouTube analytics do show me that the majority of people that do watch the videos are not actually subscribed, so if you are getting value out of that content, do please consider doing that. So one of the things I like to do with this series is try to keep it as close to 5 minutes as possible, so it's bite-sized for you and not dragging on. So I like to talk a lot, so we'll do my best here. So without further ado, let's take a look at where we're at on the table this week. And this week I have been able to move on into my Dark Angel projects. I am currently working on a unit of infiltrators that I want to run in the 1 troop slot that I'm planning to use at the moment. So these are primarily, I knocked the camera there, primarily the easy to build version that came with the Phobos box. Originally Shadow Spear box for people that have that. Comes with all like the Marine Phobos stuff. That is the only place, by the way, that you can get the actual Helix Gauntlet guy. That is right here, which is the one that has the vials and the needle stabby bit. But of course you could proxy that with something else. He does have the also the apothecary styled belt pack. So there's a little bit of extra stuff on him to sort of set him apart, but that's the only way to get that. Otherwise, you're gonna have to make one from scratch. So, not that that's the end of the world, but that's where that's at. He also has a little bit specialized version of the helmet with the extra light on it. But my process on these has been something that I've been wanting to try for a while. I went ahead and got the stuff for it. I do use, for those of you that know me, I do love my airbrush. I do use airbrush. I use a mix of airbrush and hand brush for almost all my work. And in this case, I wanted to try something that I had seen. It's a standard technique in mini painting, which is doing basically like a zenithal highlight pre-shade. It's effectively what you would call a value sketch, where it's just not colors but shades from black up to white in any variation that you choose to do, and you spot highlight. You can do it with dry brush, which is what became the sort of popular meme, which is slap chop. I'm not a big fan of the name and the meme part of that, because it's a super old, like way more interesting technique than just an infomercial meme. But there's a lot of value in it, and of course it's also similar with airbrush. And I had seen a great channel called Cult of Paint do their version, which they often use, which is using going from a black base or prime and or base, in which case I went with my Badger Style Res Black, and then I did some Contrast Black Legion through the airbrush to really make it nice and even and a little bit nicer black. And then I used Tamiya XF2 white, which is an acrylic, but it is not a water based. It's a alcohol based, and so then you have to use the X20A thinner, and this is the best result I have ever gotten. It is the smoothest. It has no speckling or very little, and it was very easy to tune it when I came across any, because I did come across a little, just full transparency, when I was messing with it when I was messing with it with my airbrush and trying to get the flow right and stuff. So, but very quickly I just got amazing results, and that is how these are done. So they have, you can probably tell they are darker from the bottom side and from certain angles. Even though they are done in that Dark Angels green, because I went back and used a really old, honestly, because this is my first original army, Caliban green pot to put through the airbrush as the the base coat over top of that black to white progression, and man, that has really worked out. I really like it. And also then I have gone back, and I think I'm using still my older pot of Warpstone, because that's your primary highlight color for the standard box art style, and I'm going in and doing the edges. Don't know how visible that is. I get a little bit better light in there. On the armor, started mostly down around the leg. I've worked a little bit up and around and stuff, and moving around it, but that is also making me super happy. So that is that. There's a couple things about my army project here for Ark of Omen that has come out in the past month, really just the past couple weeks, that has led me to mess with these guys. And so I've got a bunch of stuff, but it's going to take me a while to get a full list rebuilt, because my Dark Angels were basically torn apart, waiting on me to kind of catch up on my hobby skill over the years. And so what I've got too is I've got a bunch of parts on both sides of the desk. I'll just show this side real quick though, where you can see I've got parts of my Samael. I was working on one of the bikes. I've got a bunch of bike parts. I've got a bunch of attack bike parts and Terminator parts, and I've got way more than this, just what's sitting here. I've also got some of my speeders. So I'm working on a way to take my land speeders. This is one of my original land speeders that I had to a basic paint job, and I'm going to use them probably as tornadoes, which means you get the gun up top and the assault cannon on the bottom, probably multi-melta and assault cannon here. I had already pre-magnetized most of these a long time ago, so a bunch of them already can fit that, or just have it popped off. What I want to do is, before I finish this, is build a magnet in there as well, so that I can pop the Typhoon missile launchers back on and off when I want to, just pop them on and off. So I'm gonna figure out a way to do that, but that's a little bit lower priority than getting the Talon Master done. So this was my original Talon Master that I had built back when that first became an option. So this is actually a little bit cleaner basic work, because I was just better at doing the basic work back then. And but he never got totally finished, so I'm gonna get him fixed up finally, because there's probably no way he's leaving the list. He'll definitely be in the list, so he's another high priority deal. And the other thing I did this week was I finished my Ezekiel, and I actually posted that up all over social media, so you guys could probably have seen that. But he is a super old school OG model that I did a rebase on the 32 mil base for him, and stuck him up on a little platform that I like to use, which is just some cork sheeting that I usually simulate to make like broken concrete. In this case, like some old broken worn out steps with moss and stuff. And I wanted to paint him still mostly in the old school style, but just with a little bit of updated techniques. And I had already freehanded that symbol on there many years ago when I had been testing out and seeing how I was doing. So I kept most of that work, but I added like a glow from his augmatic eye, and you know, did a bunch of this work. And so he's in the list. He's really good. There's a couple things I could fix, like the gems on there are really just not done. I didn't really do anything to the purity seal wax. There's a few things I could go back and work on a little bit, fix the lettering a little bit, add a little bit more interest into the banner. But yeah, he's pretty good. So that is where I'm at, working on the Dark Angels for that list. And that's probably where I'm going to be at for the foreseeable future. I'd say next week these guys will still be on the table, and in just a later stage, or I may have one of these other two models like the Talon Master going. So that is it. Hopefully you all found that useful, or at least entertaining in some way, and looking forward to future videos coming up. If you are wanting to keep track, please do consider hitting that notification bell. Check out the other social media. I am trying to be a little bit more active on the Instagram, so please do check that out. It is Instagram at @LittleEIAO. That's LITTLEIAO. And I see that I've talked a lot this time, way over the 5 minutes, closer to 10. So without further ado, I will say bye for now. All right, thanks guys. Have a great one.